allowing us, Team 7, to present to you about leadership. Everyone in this project has done extensive research on leadership and the multifaceted benefits that leadership has brought to companies around the globe when it was performed well. In addition to the research, our team has had the pleasure of interviewing industry experts and leaders from several fields in an attempt to provide you the most up-to-date and real-time information. As executives, I know your time is important, and with that said, I would like to dive in and share our findings with you. The first question one should ask before investing in leadership is why invest in leadership at all? The answer to that question is quite simple. A business can't be a business without a return on investment, and leadership has a significant correlation with increases on the bottom line. Over the course of this presentation, you will see our team make many references to many studies and real-world information. However, I want to draw your attention to the following quotes. What these comprehensive studies showed were in many ways representative of all the studies we found on leadership. That finding was that leadership training is always correlated with an improvement on the bottom line. As a leader in your company, you personally have a profound effect on the bottom line, the morale of those who work with you, and the culture of your workplace. If these aspects are of importance to you, and as leaders they should be, then making a commitment to improving your leadership skills are paramount.
Leadership initiates momentum towards a positive employee experience, while workplace practices carry the momentum forward. The data is from a study conducted by Ernst & Young on Leadership Development Program. According to this study, more than 1,000 C-level executives worldwide identified the issues they expect to resolve in the coming year. The top 10 challenges vying for the leadership's action focused on their own leaders. As we can see, developing next-generation leaders and failure to attract or retain top talent were rated in the top 5, that is 64% and 60% of the respondents respectively. The data on the left side shows that the organizations with effective leadership talent outperform their peers, and it also depicts that preparedness to meet key business challenges when companies have an effective and ineffective leadership strategies.
In a study by Dr. Paul Leon, he observed an increase in productivity and return on investment by surveying over 10,000 managers and director-level leaders at a major credit card company. He used 6 steps to evaluate the attendance performance right after the training program. The study divided all leaders into 2 groups, high improvement leaders and no improvement leaders. After the training, the survey showed that the productivity of employees under high improvement leaders increased 48%, while the productivity of employees under no improvement leaders only increased 11%. The leaders were able to increase the productivity of the employees under them by 7% in 3 months after the leadership program. But what was surprising was that a 7% increase in productivity brought about a 950% increase in ROI. This outcome clearly demonstrates that leadership has a direct impact on ROI.
Hi, I'm Vinay Vaisiraju, and I'm here to share our team's insights on the significance of leader-constituent relation. Leadership is a relationship between those who aspire to lead and those who choose to follow. Sometimes the relationship is one-to-one, and sometimes it's one-to-many. Regardless of the number, to emerge, grow, and thrive in these disquieting times, leaders must master the dynamics of this relationship. They must learn how to mobilize others to want to struggle for these shared aspirations. In order to accomplish the implementation of positive performing leadership culture in your company, we recommend the use of Leadership Challenge formulated on the basis of the research work of 2 eminent leaders, James Couzes and Barry Posner, who have deeply looked into the leader-constituent relationship over the past 3 decades. Through thousands of interviews and case analysis and survey questionnaire, they have discovered that leaders at all levels across industries, despite the differences in culture, gender, age and other variables, follow rather similar paths as they guide others along pioneering journeys. By studying the times when leaders performed at their personal best, they were able to identify the practices common to the most extraordinary leadership achievements. They model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and last, but certainly not the least, they encourage the heart. Our team now will be focusing on the 2 key practices, model the way and challenge the process.
Hi, I'm Wade Thomas, and for Model the Way, a leader needs to clarify values and set the example. To clarify values, one must find their voice and affirm shared values with the group. To set the example, you have to live the shared values and teach others to model the values. In a recent Harvard Business Review study, a company wanted to change its culture and engage employees around new corporate values. To do so, the company started a new award that recognized individuals who were living the new values inside and out of work by having peers nominate them. The winners were chosen at a town hall type meeting, rewarded the employees that lived the corporate values the most by recognizing them in front of their peers. The study showed that companies that had leaders who were highly effective at modeling the way were 3.5 times more likely to significantly outperform other industry peers.
The most important aspect of modeling the way is setting the example, living the shared values, and teaching others to live them as well. Companies that do this were called healthy companies in a McKinsey study entitled The Effect of Great Leadership, and were significantly correlated with long-term financial health and superior long-term operational performance. While living the shared values is important, the real value of leadership comes from getting others to live them as well. The leaders in the McKinsey study also were correlated with being open and trusting. They focused on talent development and a high degree of employee involvement. This required a higher level of employee engagement, but also led to individuals performing at a higher level, and thus worked towards developing a high-performing team.
Looking back at the study, How to Measure the ROI of Leadership Training by Dr. Paul Leon, he found that 3 environmental factors were essential to leaders. First, the manager must follow up with learners in the program, have one-on-one meetings to discuss what was learned and how to apply the lessons in the workplace. Second, the manager must endorse the training and support the learners' development in implementing their strategies. Third, the manager must encourage learners by recognizing their changes and rewarding those who improved their leadership behaviors. By looking at the slide, we can see that the majority of the learners in the high improvement group experience all 3 supports from their supervisor, while the learner in the no improvement group receives less support after the training program. This shows that leaders who model the way by providing support and proactively communicating had a significant impact on the learner's performance.
Over my telephonic interview with Mr. Alvin Dipier, Senior Vice President for Operations at Sutherland, India, when we discussed about the leadership traits that enable him holistic success at his work as a leader at Sutherland, he said empathy, clarifying your team's goals and values, seeking feedback from the team, living your shared values, and barrier-free communication to collaborate with others, which are his prime characteristics that helped him achieve exemplary performance consistently over years. As we see it, these traits have a subtle resemblance to the leadership practice Model the Way. Let's explore.
Now we want to share a couple real-life examples of Model the Way. First, we have Elon Musk, a successful CEO at Tesla and SpaceX. He's an entrepreneur who has discussed his desire to change the world for the better. He finds a way to affirm his shared values when he hires others that are creators and inventors to work with that want to innovate and change the world just like him to become more sustainable and technologically advanced. He also sets the example by creating several charities that support his claim to wanting to change the world for the better. His success has led to a net worth of nearly $22 billion, and he has captured major space in 8 different industries. Next, there is Marissa Mayer, the former CEO of Yahoo, who failed to model the way. She struggled to find her voice by paying higher-up employees large sums of money, almost as ransoms. She also did not set the example by changing her mind several times on whether to listen to or ignore advice from higher-up shareholders. She then lacked an ability to teach others to model the values by being ranked the least likable CEO in technology for being very controllable and not letting others be heard inside the company. These issues led to continuous slow growth while she was leading, and many customers experienced data breaches while under her watch. Now we will talk about challenge the process. To do this, a leader must search for opportunity by seizing the initiative and exercising outside. They must also experiment and take risks by generating small wins and learning from experience. In a Harvard Business Review study, when leaders are seeking change at work, they must gather feedback and engage others in the process. This will allow employees to support the change and make the process their own. This study showed that if senior leaders are able to do this, they will be 5 times more likely to lead to successful transformation.
Challenge the process is the practice of business growth, and growth is one of the most perplexing dilemmas facing organizations today. Job satisfaction is critical to high productivity, motivation, and low employee turnover. Meister in 2001 conducted a factor analysis of employee attitude survey and identified 4 factors that he believed not only are critical for employment satisfaction, but that lead directly to measurable improvement in financial performance. In his study, he concluded that challenging them by setting high standards, empowerment, and organizational practices continue to predict employee satisfaction, which in turn predicts client relationships and thus organizational financial outcomes.
Challenge the process is about searching for opportunities and taking risks to change the working environment. Wei Guoxian, the vice president of Yuanda Financial Holdings and my former boss, is an outstanding leader who shows how important it is to challenge the process in leadership. During the economic recession of 2008, he led his branch to outperform other branches by changing the climate of the workplace. He decided to focus on understanding what problems that people faced and supported them with empathy and encouragement. He also made people feel they were heard and encouraged them to learn from experience by rewarding small wins. Wei Guoxian emphasized the need to seize opportunities and inspired people through his actions. To conclude, I would like to share his quote that best describes challenging the process. After all, learning never stops, and we have to proactively make changes when the old methods aren't working.
For a couple real-life examples of challenge the process, we will first start with a successful example of Brad Smith, the CEO of Intuit. He continues to run Intuit as a collection of startups to keep the environment fresh and innovative. He also experiments and takes risks by creating a culture in which nearly 8,000 employees are encouraged to take risks. He also supports learn from experience by allowing employees to learn and grow from their failures and successes. His actions have nearly doubled Intuit's revenue over his tenure, and stock has risen 600%. Next, we have a failure, which was led by Martin Winterkorn, the former CEO of Volkswagen. During his time, the admission scandal broke due to many different circumstances. He did not seize the initiative with his employees. He was known for being a micromanager. He also struggled to allow others to learn from experience and generate small wins by not tolerating failures when goals were not met with inside the company. This led to some engineers to create the software that led to the scandal because they were fearful of not meeting his goals. Due to his actions, Volkswagen has lost over $30 billion so far due to the consequences.
To conclude, leadership has an extreme effect on a business's bottom line, and leadership training has a significant return on investment. The ability of a leader to be open and honest with his or her employees, to live up to his or her own values, and to encourage others to be their best is no easy task. But it's our hope that our presentation today has driven home the point that leadership is essential and that we all stand to gain by having better leaders in our company. Again, we are Team 7, and we want to thank you for allowing us to speak to you about leadership.